Boom, shakalaka, there it is. We're going to have a lot of fun today. We got 3 guests. We got 3 people that we're going to talk to, and it's going to be a madhouse. It's going to be so much fun. I hope you all are ready for this.
Practicing Polyamory, real-life perspectives from the imperfect people of polyamory. The mission of the Practicing Polyamory podcast is to provide a platform for all of the real-life, flawed humans that practice polyamory so that we might all learn from one another and grow as a community. Enjoy the show.
All right, we're here. We're back. We are in for another fun episode. But before we jump into the show, I want to quickly ask everybody listening, watching, to please head over to YouTube and do a search for Practicing Polyamory Podcast and hit that subscribe button. I'm just 48, I think that's where I was, 48 people. So I need 52 more to get to 100 by the end of the month. It's coming right around the corner. I got 4 days. Can I do it? Can we do it? Please help me out. I would love to hit those 100 subscribers. And if any of you all can help me out to get there, that'd be wonderful as well. I'm just going to jump right in and say that I'm super excited because, as I mentioned, we have not 1, not 2. As you can see, we have 3 awesome guests for the show. Our trio have been practicing polyamory for 3, 7, and 7 years, and they've got plenty of stories to share. I'm excited to learn about their dynamic today, and I can tell you that they do share some common interests like tabletop RPGs, love of lightsabers and Star Wars, and creating all kinds of art from paint pouring to writing. And, of course, delving into a myriad of universes. Star Wars universe, Steven universe. I love Steven universe, by the way. Through their experiences, some of the things they've learned are that toxic traits and habits in relationships are not exclusive to either monogamy or polyamory. The importance of managing emotions and nonviolent communication and taking sole responsibility for one's own emotions being the cornerstone for success in polyam. We may run a little bit long today as we get to know all 3 of our guests, so let's dive right in. Welcome to the show, Cheslyn, Brian, and Jay. All right, welcome. I'm so excited to have all 3 of you on the show. This is great. I'm going to start with Cheslyn because Cheslyn's the one who actually filled out the original form here. So we're going to start with you. Tell me about how all of this got started. I'm assuming that the 3 of you are a triad, throuple, something. Please tell me how you define yourself and how y'all got started.
So all of this really got started with those 2. They've been together for a long time. Jay's the one that actually had me fill everything out. I was just very gung-ho and filled it out first. That's really it.
Well, lucky you.
They've been practicing for a lot longer than I have. I personally think I've been polyamorous since the days of high school and will they, won't they, and you have to choose someone right away. And why would I choose? Why would I choose? And I actually met them working at HEB, and they're the first people that taught me the word polyamorous. I'm dating Brian. Jay is my meta, and it's really set the standard for all of my relationships in comparison.
Got it. Okay, so you're not a triad or a throuple. You're actually a V.
We are.
Okay.
Not technically, because I have another partner.
Oh yeah.
Oh. N Z something like that. It gets crazy. There's W's and there's Y's and there's all kinds of different things. So fun stuff.
Before COVID, this would have been a lot more complicated because I had too many partners.
Oh yeah.
COVID has brought those numbers down a bit. Not being able to interact with everyone how I want and such. But
I want to get back to that idea of polysaturated. But let me talk to. Let's go with Jay. Let's go with Jay next, and tell me a little bit about your background, how you and Brian met, and where. I mean, you guys met Cheslyn at work. Talk to her about polyamory and talk to them about polyamory. I'm sorry. And we want to make. I am so bad at that sometimes, but I am doing my best to catch it every single time. So if I don't, for any reason, please call me out on it.
Will do.
And yeah, tell me the history from your perspective, Jay.
So I've kind of known as a Cheslyn that I've not been monogamous, at least since like high school. I didn't really have the words for that at that time. But it was actually mine and Brian's friend Anna who introduced us to the word polyamory. We actually were non-monogamous before that. But I didn't even know that word until about 6 years ago, even though we've been non-monogamous for 7 years. And we've been together for 10. I actually met Brian in first grade. We grew up together, so we've known each other for a really long time. There is definitely a very rich, deep relationship to have with someone that you've known for so long.
Perfect. So Brian, from your perspective now, were you always polyamorous or non-monogamous? Is this something that you just knew from the beginning? And when things started with Jay, and you've known each other since the first grade, was it like a friendship that was very deep already and then evolved into a relationship, or was it like a long time of separation and then all of a sudden one day you're like, hey, you're kind of hot, I think I want to be with you?
So, to the first part, I definitely did not know that I was non-monogamous. I was raised Catholic, and I'm also kind of I was a very rule-driven person, and so I kind of had it hammered into me, that I was supposed to be monogamous, and that was the only option. So it wasn't even something that crossed my mind until Jay brought it up, and I mean, it kind of took me by surprise, but it was something that made so much sense. Like it just made sense. And from where we came from, our relationship, we were friends in first grade. Like we were acquaintances, and we hung out a lot. We were in an after school program together. And then there were some years in between, where we kind of drifted apart. We didn't hang out outside of school or anything like that. So it was really just an acquaintance from school, from middle school, and then back in high school is really when we started to kind of get back together. We fell into the same friend circle. And I had a crush on Jay for a little while there, starting in probably, was it junior year or sophomore year when we started hanging out more. And it developed from there. Like it just, we already knew each other really well, and we both had a crush on each other, but we didn't know it. And
nice.
Luckily Jay took the initiative.
Nice.
So things went from there. And we, being in a relationship, or like going from being friends to in a relationship was just a very natural transition, which is, important for me. I've, sometimes struggled to form attachments. So as, it was really a wonderful thing, being able to know them for so long and, kind of just naturally transition and evolve our relationship.
Nice. One of the things that you mentioned, Brian, was that you were non-monogamous and then you started exploring polyamory. So to you, what's the difference, and what was the thing that changed your style of approaching relationships when you discovered that word?
Well, I think for me, the non-monogamy was kind of, we came at it from, I don't think that we should be locked in this relationship and restrict ourselves. Polyamory really just gave another term to it and kind of focused us on a community. Because I was kind of overwhelmed by just the idea, and still, kind of like there's so much to explore and so much to learn. And polyamory, like using that term, like Jay said, our friend Anna introduced us to the term, and that was kind of our first step into a community setting, because it wasn't something that I had really explored. It was something that, this is a thing that happens, not non-monogamy. Why should we, be in a completely exclusive relationship when it just doesn't really make sense for either of us? We have a very rich relationship, but there's so many possibilities, and restricting yourself. For me, it was based on tradition, and it was traditions that I didn't really ascribe to anymore. And so polyamory was just about finding that community, and it was just the first step in learning, and taking the new terms and figuring out where we would fit into that.
Makes sense. My own background, when my wife and I started, it was in the swinging community, and that was, lacking the emotional connection, I guess. And so after a little while of exploring that, it just wasn't working. Polyamory made more sense, and both fall under the large umbrella of non-monogamy. So that's why I was kind of asking if there was something about discovering polyamory that made non-monogamy as a whole different. Jay, would you like to speak to that?
I think what really changed for us is we had a term where we could learn more. Because prior to that, we just sort of went by what was working for us, and we definitely had a lot of couples privilege in the very beginning, because we were very intent on protecting that relationship, right? Which is what a lot of people new to polyamory do, or to non-monogamy in general. Having that term enabled us to go online and Google what is that, and learn more about the communities, other non-monogamous people, and other types of non-monogamy. I know this polyamory podcast, but I know personally for me, I'm a relationship anarchist. Polyamory is just sort of a byproduct of that. It was just the ability to learn and grow, and to learn how to be better in our relationship with each other and with our other partners and metas.
Cool. Well, thank you. Cheslyn, I'm going to get you back on here. One of the things that you mentioned is that it's only been 3 years since you learned the term. And so you maybe haven't been practicing as long as Brian and Jay. Nothing wrong with that. I mean, I'm only like 4 years in, so it's not like, we've been doing this for our entire lives or anything. But having just discovered it 3 years ago, and prior to that point, carrying those feelings, but not knowing that it was something that you could do, you became polysaturated.
I charged into the polyamorous world with reckless abandon, to say the least.
Tell me more.
Oh my gosh, I am the story. I got unicorn hunted. I did some hunting myself as a unicorn to try to take hold of the situation. It was all a mess, but I've learned so much. I've learned so much from all of it. And it's definitely one of those things where I'm like, when I was first dating in general, things were rough. This is just another style of dating. It requires a whole new mindset. So, of course, it's going to be a little rough as I learn my preferred methods and communication and all of that.
Has it made it tougher for dating though? Really? I mean, when you get to the point of polysaturation, you're there, you've got all these different partners and all this stuff going on prior to COVID, of course. So what are some of the difficulties that you're seeing in dating post COVID, all of the above?
Personally, one of the difficulties I face is with being demi-romantic and demisexual, kind of like Brian. I struggle to form relationships. I struggle to form attachments. I come off as a very exploratory and interesting person, but really, I just kind of want to sit and watch my shows and chill out. And, people expect a lot different things out of me, especially like after learning that I'm interested in couples and that kind of thing. They expect one thing, And then the person that I am is completely different from those expectations. And it's been a little bit difficult keeping people on the page of what they want from me and what role they want me to fulfill versus who I am as a human being.
That makes sense. That makes sense. And Brian, you have been dating Cheslyn for a while. When she approached you, and forgive me, this is like a little deep or whatever, but that's the point of this thing. Were you were you expecting? Oh, thank you. They when they approached you, were you expecting them to be going after both you and Jay, or was it just straight up like, this is a one-on-one, we're dating separately? How did that go?
So, Cheslyn was a good friend of both of us, and that thought, crossed my mind. It's like I wasn't sure if Cheslyn was going to be wanting to date me and Jay, but it really started off as just it was just me and Cheslyn. Like that was kind of the initial expectation. Like I said, the thought crossed my mind, but it wasn't really something that came up. Because Cheslyn and I worked really closely together where we when we worked together, and we hung out as friends. We met back in 2015, and we started dating in 2018. So it was another one of those things, where it transitioned from a friendship sort of naturally into it evolved into a relationship.
Yeah. So while I have you on here, and I kind of want to get a little bit more into this, Cheslyn started dating other people as well. As they were saying, they got polysaturated. What did that do to you? How did you feel, while they were out there dating all these different people, having all of these different relationships? How did that affect you?
So I am someone who definitely suffers from compersion.
Nice.
I'm not really a jealous person at all. I'm not competitive, and I'm also really kind of a low energy person. I don't go out and do stuff, like Justin. I like to just sit around and watch my shows with people. I like to find common interests and just, spending time together and that sort of thing. And when Cheslyn had multiple other partners, we would block out time, and, we would message each other all the time. I don't feel like I lost anything from it. I was super excited to see them with their other partners whenever it was a situation that was, that was good for them, whenever it was something that made them happy, when it was something that, that was good for them. So
do you all live and die by the Google Calendar?
Kind of, not really, not
really
anymore.
Okay.
When Cheslyn was
not anymore.
Multiple people, they're very organized with their time and scheduling with people. Mm-hmm. So that was kind of a thing for a while. It isn't now that, post COVID, we're kind of, we're a little bit more limited. And I'm not the kind of person that will actively seek relationships. Like I said, it sort of evolves from the friendship. So I'm not, making events and going out and, blocking out time to do all the dating. But Cheslyn was very good about that, very organized. So
I think I'm mostly the same way as far as, meeting people in the wild and kind of letting it form naturally. Now, Jay, you also have another partner. Can you tell me a little bit about your other partner, how you met, how long you've been seeing that other person, and how it has affected the way that you approach your relationship with Brian?
So I'm going to be calling my other partner Red. That's what he has to be called. He didn't want to be on the show. I don't think he's quite ready to be out with his family.
Okay.
We met on OkCupid. He knew from the get-go that I was non-monogamous, and we took things kind of slow at first. He didn't meet Brian for the first couple of months. And it was all on his terms. And well, of course, Brian was okay with meeting him from the get-go. He's like, I'll meet him, whatever. And then, of course, Red, I was like, whenever you're ready to meet him, you can meet him, and not before. I want you to make sure that you're comfortable. And they actually, they're pretty good friends. They send each other memes and stuff, and Anytime they're together with me, they roast me. That's their favorite pastime.
I know the feeling. I know the feeling.
But the way that it's really impacted my relationship. Oh, sorry, I forgot to say how long we've been together. Has it been 2.5?
Yeah,
3
that sounds
years?
about right. I think so.
Ask Brian.
I've been dating Cheslyn since 2018, and you were dating Red for a little bit before Cheslyn and I started dating. So,
Just 2.5 years.
Yeah, so Cheslyn and I started dating in October of 2018.
I love it. We're measuring our relationships by how long we've been with our other partners.
Yes, yeah. You got to find something that works. Anything but the metric system.
You can tell Brian is the one that keeps track of all the important dates.
Thanks, Brian. Good stuff. Good stuff.
The
So
biggest
that last
way that
bit
it's
was
impacted my relationship with Brian is I feel like it's really helped me really love the things that I have with Brian. Really, it's improved our relationship. I think the biggest thing, especially for me with non-monogamy, is that I don't have to get everything from one person. I'm a moderate energy person, I guess. And Brian often doesn't want to go do stuff, and my other partner Red, he loves to be adventurous, so I could just be spontaneous, call him up and like, hey, let's go to New Mexico, and he's like, that's great, and Brian's like, cool, I'll stay home and watch the dogs.
Perfect. When you have one partner that's adventurous and the other ones that just prefers to stay home, it works. It works, and I think that's actually what I've found. With the partners that I have, the partner that I met a little over a year ago, we both happen to be runners, and so our early dating life was all running and hiking together. Like that's all we did for quite a while, and it fit, and that's for me, that's like the way that I can find time for another relationship or find the energy for another relationship is when it fits, when it works. Did any of you experience jealousy even early on? I'm gonna wait for like a raised hand or something.
I mean, I was concerned about it, but it was more of the anxiety of being jealous than actually being jealous for me.
Oh.
Because it wasn't really something that I ever experienced. It was for me. I mean, being the low energy person, this idea of non-monogamy was relieving to me. It was like, wow, I don't feel like, being demisexual, demi-romantic, I don't feel like I'm really cut out for a relationship sometimes. It's one of those things that I put energy and put effort towards, and, I enjoy and I get things out of it, but it's something that I have limited energy. And, having this one partner coming to me for everything is, it just makes me feel like, I have to do everything and go above and beyond. And I'm a giver. I like doing that kind of thing, but it does drain you. And so having multiple partners was relieving. It was wonderful, is to see that I can have someone that I care so deeply about go and form this relationship with somebody else and get things out of it, that maybe I'm not able to give, or maybe that I'm not as suited for. I can try and give it, but it won't be as fulfilling an experience coming from me as it would from somebody else, with a completely different and unique relationship. So that's kind of where I come at that.
More anxiety about being jealous than actually being jealous. Cheslyn, Jay, any experience with jealousy? Did it take hold at any point, Jay?
Definitely for me, it wasn't really anything that Cheslyn was doing or any other people that Brian has dated. For me, it's always just about insecurity. I think that's the biggest thing to know about whenever you're feeling jealousy is what needs of yours aren't being met, or what is it that you're feeling insecure about. I know for me personally, it was more about the fear of abandonment. So it was really about sharing those feelings with Brian and talking through them. And not everybody's partner is going to be able to help you cope with those emotions. But Brian is really good about that. he enjoys doing that and helping other people, especially his partners, cope with their emotions. So I'm very lucky that I can vent to him and be like, okay, this is what I'm feeling. Help me process it.
Nice.
And I do that work I do the work on the side on my own. Also, I do a lot of
As a
research
relationship
and
coach or
like,
something?
how do I kind of attack this feeling, and how can I take care of myself? Like,
Mm-hmm.
so for me, it was seeking therapy for about the fear of abandonment, and the other stuff. It's like, what needs of mine aren't being met, and is this a need that I have to have from Brian, or is this a need I can fulfill for myself or with another partner, or even a friend or a family member, which is really what relationship anarchy is about. Was this,
Mm-hmm.
you don't have to get all of those things from just a romantic partner.
Yeah, and I mean, one of the big things that you said was finding it either in yourself or with a support network. There was about a year-long period of time that my wife and I were separated, and it was really tough for me getting used to being on my own again. I think we had been married for only like 3 years, but I mean, when we got together, it was just like this crazy fire, like, falling in love in 10 days and just craziness, craziness, craziness. It was wonderful and amazing. And but that year period, it was really like finding myself and finding my own support network. And during that time, Jay, I made a similar discovery as what you wrote, which is that being responsible for my emotions, I am responsible for my happiness. She's responsible for her happiness. We're not responsible for each other's happiness. And finding support within our family, within our friends, and within ourselves became really important.
Exactly.
All three of you use the word demisexual, demi-romantic, and just for anybody who might be listening in and maybe doesn't understand it, I'm gonna call Cheslyn up here because I feel like they haven't talked as much, and I love the way your eyes just brighten. Oh my god! All right, so Cheslyn, what does demisexual, demi-romantic mean to you?
So for me, it's okay. So talking demi-romantic, demisexual, both of them in a way mean that you need something for either of those attachments to form. For me personally, I need to be someone's friend before I can even begin to have romantic feelings for them. And long after that begins to happen, I start to be able to kind of have sexual feelings for them.
Mm,
Um, demisexuality is you need some kind of a bond or something like that before you have the sexual feelings develop. Demi-romantic is something along the same line, but with romance. Viewing romance and sexuality as separate parts has really helped me understand my own identity and how I form relationships to begin with.
romance and sexuality are separate things. Is that okay? Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. You got to have that connection. You got to have the relationship. You got to have, I don't know, roses and chocolates.
Well, for me, I have very intense personal friendships with people that, I even allow them to sleep in the same bed as me. But
Hmm.
for whatever reason, my brain hasn't gone as far as to develop any kind of romantic feelings for them. I can have this intense friendship and also still some sexual feelings with people. It really it takes a lot of little things clicking into place in my brain for those relationships and attachments to begin to form.
Got it. Got it. So it's not like I just see Thor across the way and I want to jump his bones.
No, I was actually just talking to Brian about it. And so I've been watching the podcast Critical Role. And, like looking at the cast, all of them are very attractive people, but I didn't have any kind of like, ooh, I'm attracted to ooh, blank, blank, blank until after watching them play together and interact and have conversations and really get an idea of how they're formed on the inside is when I started to be like, oh, they have a nice smile. Oh, they have such a nice face. Ooh, them shoulders though, like eventually started going that way. Like it
just takes
takes a
little bit.
lot. Takes
Nice.
a lot.
Nice. Very cool. Very cool. Other things that I have been talking about lately, Yeah, man, we're coming up on time. I don't know if we have time to dive into it. You know what? I'm gonna take this and make this be the last thing that we talk about. And it's because one of you mentioned it in your bio, talking about privilege in our polyamorous community. What are some things? And I'll just give each of the three of you an opportunity to speak. Or I think it was Jay that actually mentioned it. What are some things that we can do in our community to acknowledge our own privilege and help to lift others up?
Is it okay if I go first since it was
Yes.
in my bio? The first and foremost thing to do is to go learn. Talk to people of different backgrounds. And when we're talking about privilege in polyamory, we're talking about intersectional, identities. We're talking about all kinds of marginalization. There's a lot of different privilege. Um, you know, Brian and I are both white, and there is privilege with that. We live in a home together. There's privilege in that. Um, Brian comes from a wealthy family. There's privilege in that. Um, and then you have to do as much research as you can, learn, and don't just learn from the internet, but learn from other people by talking to non-monogamous people of different backgrounds. So people that are non-white, people of color, people that are LGBTQIA plus, which we all are, but include those people. People that are disabled, people that are neurodivergent. All of those identities play a role in the privilege of polyamory and pretty much anywhere in the world in your life. But for non-monogamy especially, it's a space where it's currently sort of dominated by cishet identities, cishet white identities,
Right.
and they're the face of the movement.
Is typical, right? As is typical. So I've been listening right now to so you want to talk about race. Ijoma, I can't remember her last name, but her first name is Ijoma, and that's kind of what started this line of thinking. And she talks a lot about the different ways that we can attack privilege. Some of the things that you mentioned, being not being disabled, being able-bodied. That's what I was looking for. Being able-bodied, being, not being neurodivergent. All of these different things are privileges that I feel like we don't even realize. A lot of people don't realize that they even have, and that the world is more made for people that don't have to suffer, that don't suffer from these things. Cheslyn or Brian, I'll give one of you an opportunity, and if either one of you wants to speak to this.
So speaking a bit to the neurodivergent side of things, understanding that people who have any kind of neurodivergence often have masks in the way they present themselves in crowds versus online versus one-on-one and stuff like that, and giving people the space to really be themselves. Like a lot of people in this community kind of focus on like going to cocktails and big events and loud events where we can all be out and loud and poly. And I feel it's very exclusionary to people who, not even just neurodivergence, but physical disabilities, mental disabilities, all of the different things that, this community of, oh, it's fun, it's going out and partying, doesn't really promote and allow in the spaces that, are so promoted.
So what are some things that you think we could do to help alleviate that? What are some ways that we can reach out to people that maybe wouldn't be comfortable in those spaces?
I think it's a lot of just showing the same excitement for other people's events and other people's meetups or, like small events and stuff like that we show for our own big events, even if it's not your style, not something that you personally are like super interested in, just showing the same enthusiasm to get other people to go and stuff like that. Because when people are like, oh, that sounds boring, oh, that doesn't sound like this, that, the other, they're discounting all of these people that could be like, yes, this is my opportunity to go out and meet people. but then nobody wants to go because it's a library or, you know, like something that, you know, isn't, oh, going out and getting drinks, you know, like even like the alcoholics and like the recovering alcoholics in our community that this, you know, distance is from. It's just, I feel that too often as a community, we go towards these big flashy events, you know, they're like, yes, we're loud and we're proud and we're polyamorous and, you know, we're the cool kids in the bar that are all drinking together and, you know, you see people smooching each other and, ooh, what's going on over there, you know, but like, that's not the event that makes it accessible or even appealing to everyone. And there's a lot of privilege in it. Going out and assuming people can buy drinks, you know, library books are free.
Yeah, no. See, there you go. Another bit of privilege that we don't even often realize that we have. Brian, any last words?
As far as privilege goes, I'll bounce off what Jay said. My biggest tool in that, you know, is realizing my privilege is listening. You know, searching out for those different experiences, reading and learning, and really just kind of trying to take that active role upon yourself to educate yourself. Because, you know, even with non-monogamy, that was just that was how I did it. Was, you know, it was, I sort of had to break down these walls in the safe little privileged life that I had lived, and listen to what other people had to say. You know, the experiences of marginalized folks. That's where you need to start, and that's, you know, where it goes. So,
any resources, any books, podcasts? You mentioned one, Cheslyn, I think it was. Books or podcasts that you all are listening to that might be helpful to anybody in this space?
I'm always going to tell people they need to watch Steven Universe. Always.
Yes.
Always.
So true. So
about
true.
Inclusion and like, making things accessible to people. And I just love it so much. I won't plug it when I can't.
I literally just, I was watching it yesterday, the day before, and just realized, it was 2 days ago, that all of the gems are femme.
Mm-hmm.
Did not, like, oh crap, like all kinds of things like fell into place, and I was like, whoa, okay. Yeah, anyway, very great show.
And
Excellent
Stevani
show.
being a non-binary character was really great, you know, and then having the gay union of don't we start.
Yeah, no, whoa. Spoilers.
I love it too much, but it teaches people so much about love, in my opinion, you know, and I feel like all of the concepts there are so applicable. Anytime I'm sad about anything in polyamory, I'm like, there's a Steven Universe episode for that. Let me go find it.
There's one where the Crystal Gems went to meet Connie's parents, and then the whole lesson behind that is families come in all shapes and sizes. And yeah, so much greatness. Jay, anything to add?
I would say I don't have any specifics right now, but mostly where I learn about other people's experiences is through social media. So you're on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. Search out groups that are from BIPOC educators, people or disabled educators, or frankly both, you know, someone that is both. They are out there and they are offering this education about privilege, about their experience for free. They're sharing their life, and all you have to do is go out and search for them. You know, if you're scrolling through your feed and all you see are people that look like you, that have experiences like you need to diversify your the people that are in your life. Maybe you don't go out, as Cheslyn said, you know, you don't like to go out to big events, but most people are on social media. Diversify the content that you consume.
I love that. And I just wrote down a note for myself to find disabled BIPOC educators, because there's definitely not enough of that in my feed. Brian,
I can send some to you.
Please do. Brian, your turn. What do you got for resources?
Honestly, the same thing that Jay does, you know, is most of my exposure comes through social media, and actually a lot of it comes through Jay. Like, Jay finds all these wonderful resources. They're so dedicated, and all, you know, all that they do, it seems like, is educate themselves. Like they whenever they find something, they dive in. And so they're constantly sharing these resources with me. And social media is kind of my primary access to the world. So
Nice.
that has definitely been also my primary way of getting these experiences and listening to them and learning. Has definitely been through social media. You know, they send me TikToks, and I'm on Facebook and Instagram and that kind of thing. So that's what the household is here.
Perfect. I love it. So much left to learn. And yeah, if all three of you, or Jay especially, since you have so much of those resources, send it to me. If you guys, if you three want to send me friend requests or anything like that, happy to learn from all of you. And I just want to say thank you to all three of you for being on the show, for hanging out with me and sharing the knowledge, sharing the wisdom, getting the opportunity to see a little bit of your dynamic, the three of you with in a V or N or whatever the configuration actually is. It's been so much fun. And I just want to say thank you to all three of you for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yes, thank you. It's been awesome.
It's great to see more people trying to bring this into the mainstream and providing a platform for people to get more education and more resources. And, we may not all be the best at finding things ourselves, so providing that is fantastic.
That's what I'm trying to do. Bring more of it to the community, to the world, to, make it more normalized. Like, here we are. We're just everyday people. We've got our own stuff. We believe the same things as a lot of you. We just do relationships a little bit differently. So very cool. Thank you all again for being on the show. Thank you to our live audience for tuning in today. As a reminder, when we're here live, you get no commercial interruptions, but the same cannot be said for the podcast download. So if you want to avoid commercial interruptions, be sure to catch us live Monday through Wednesday, 2:30 Pacific, or sign up for our Patreon, where you not only get access to our commercial-free RSS feed, but also Patreon-only content like reaction videos, Q&A with our upcoming professional guests. So thank you as always. Thanks again for hanging out with me, with us, with our guests. It's been a great time. We will catch you all. Today's Wednesday, so next week. Till then,
have a nice day. Thank you for tuning in to the Practicing Polyamory podcast. Would you or someone in your Polycule like to be a guest? Sign up at practicingpolyamory.com and join the conversation. Please support us by subscribing, liking, and following us on social media at Practicing Polya by clicking any of the affiliate links on our website, or by subscribing at patreon.com.